It has been a while since I've done a stealth build, so today I'll be going over a couple configurations I did in the Corsair 6500X, which would be an AIO build and a custom loop. Now, this video isn't a full review of the case, which I normally do a lot of on the channel, but I will give my insights from my first time building in it, recommended hardware choices, and highlight some notable features if you are considering a system like this. Just my personal take here. I think nowadays with all the white hardware, white builds, white setups, it's pretty trendy, but white is not classy or timeless like black. And with all the white builds and RGB going on, I kind of just want to bring some attention to the dark setups. Now, this project is in collaboration with Corsair, as they did send me most of the hardware to use and also give some talking points on. I will have all the featured products listed down below as well. So let's dive in. If you are in the market for a new build and perhaps looking at the 6500X mid tower, I will tell you it is a pretty fat mid tower. We're talking dual chamber that supports ATX PSU in the back, a ton of space for cable management, and even more if you remove the drive cage. And there is a ton of room in the front that can easily be underutilized if you're not doing a custom loop. Now, I'm not just saying that as a custom water cooling enthusiast, I'm being dead ass serious. For an AIO configuration here, mounting a 360 cooler like the Titan RX, RTX 5090 FE, and filling the case up with 9 to 10 fans, it will feel pretty empty. Now, maybe if I had a larger AIB card like the 5090 Astral or 5090 Supreme, it can fill in a bit more since the FE is a pretty slim card. But even then, I think the top and side portions of the 6500X will still make you feel like you should have and could have put more in there. I'm also not a fan of the full mesh back panel. I just don't think the whole panel needs to be mesh. Handling it feels too flimsy, and I'd much rather have it be a solid piece with only ventilation cutouts for exactly where the PSU and 3 side fans are mounted. And since this is a stealth build, I replaced the stock RX RGB fans that came with the cooler with the RX all black fans. I also do have two variants on hand, the RX 120 Max, which are 30mm thick compared to the standard size RX 120s. I opted to use the Max fans on the radiator and use the regular ones as case fans. The setup is 3 intakes on the side and 3 intakes on the bottom, with the top 3 being exhaust. The downside about the RX fans here is that you do have to see the less appealing backside of the fan, as they do not have the reverse blade models for these. The RMX shift is also very convenient with the side placement connectors. However, I will say that because the 6500X has so much room in the back, even conventional PSUs with the front connectors still have little to no cable routing issues. Now, moving on to the custom loop. I basically just turned off all RGB features. The only thing I left on were the LCD screens on the ROG Extreme and the Corsair XC7 Elite water block, because it's more for monitoring the system. The XC7 does have an LED ring around the center screen, which you can customize or toggle on and off. And the XD6 pump also has LEDs that you can change. The XG7 4080 Strix water block here also has an LED strip, which I just didn't even bother plugging in. The one thing I noticed about the XD6 and XC7 block is that the gray accents are not the same. The XD6 looks like it's got a tiny warm beige tint, while the XC7 is closer to a neutral gray. It would be good if they matched these. As for the triple 360 radiators, bottom panel has plenty of space where I can fit a thicker XR7 with the thicker RX 120 Max fans and still have headroom. The side panel is best with thinner radiators like the XR5, because going with thicker radiators may result in blocking your cable pass-throughs. Same goes with the top panel. Anything bigger than an XR5 would run into your motherboard heatsink. I also ended up using some Bits Power extender fittings in areas that were pretty tight and straightened out some minor offset tube runs. I was also debating whether clear coolant would have been a better choice in a stealth build, basically just avoided colors where possible. I ended up using Corsair's XL8 blue transparent coolant just to show a tiny bit of contrast, but here is a color graded version to show what it would look like with straight clear coolant. To wrap things up, I think the 6500X is better off with a custom loop if you are planning to use it, because when it comes to system builds, for me, I think the overall size of the case is secondary. What's more important is actually how you use the space. So if you want to use like an AIO, I would recommend something more compact and smaller like the Frame 4000D. But when it comes to air coolers, Well, there are pretty big, beefy air coolers out there that can help fill that space, so I think the 6500X could be a good option depending on what you go with. But other than that, that's just my take on the stealth builds and also just the information that I want to present in this video. So upcoming next, the second half of this video, I do have a time lapse for those who want to stay for some cinematics.